Hey everybody, welcome back to another Overwatch League analysis video, and we had to take a look at APAC. I'm going to try and do another video on the Atlantic Division this week, but APAC started up for the first time on week 3, and the opening game, which is the one we're going to go through, is the Philadelphia Fusion against the Shanghai Dragons. This was probably the most interesting game of the weekend. It was the opener as well. Shanghai were the champions from last season. They're looking to defend the crown. They've come back with this god squad, frankly. And they're up against the Fusion, who have had a substantial change to their roster with a lot of rookie players on the team, and it was interesting to see how they get on. And boy, do they get on! Anyway, without further ado, let's get down to the match. So the first map of APAC Season 5 takes us to New Queen Street, the new push map. This week, APAC were doing the push maps first to start with, then moving on to control later. A bit like the Atlantic team did previous weeks. As we approach the start of map 1, we have the rookie roster of Philadelphia Fusion, or mainly rookie roster. We have Bellasaria on the main tank. He's typically a Winston player, and I think he plays Winston throughout this series. Fixer on the main support, he's playing the Lucio. Zest on Tracer, and then we have some old heads. We have Carp, who's always been at the Fusion. He's honestly the Philadelphia Fusion's mascot at this point. He's a very, very talented player, often regarded as one of the, the great players of Overwatch League. And we have AimGod returning back to the league on flex support, who's had his ups and downs, honestly. Sometimes he was regarded as potentially one of the best flex supports in the league, but equally some people have said, might be a bit washed up. Let's see what he can do in this series. And they're up against the Shanghai Dragons. Lip and Fletter, unbelievably strong DPS duo. Void, regarded as one of the best off-tanks in the league. Lee J. Gon, who again regarded as the best Lucio in the league. And then Izayaki, a fantastic flex support player as well. Mouth-watering indeed. And we're on New Queen Street. So, immediately out of the bat, this looks like the two teams are going to go for different setups. Like, drastically different setups as well. We have, let me just get the pens out again. We have the Shanghai Dragons. They're running this Zarya Reaper comp. The Outcasters keep calling this, like, Dirty Bubble or something like that. I don't know. I prefer the Ghost Bubble, but we'll see. Anyway, they're running this Zarya as, like, I guess, like, an off-tank type hero. And then the Reaper almost operates as a pseudo-main tank. Reaper has a decent chunk of health. He has, like, 250 HP on this character. He has lifesteal, so, he likes to suck people's blood. Don't know if that's the lore of the character, I'm pretty certain it's not, but anyway. He has, like, vampire fangs, he can restore some health to back himself. And if Void gives him a bubble, the bubble is also 200 HP. So in total, this is like 450 HP plus lifesteal. The Reaper can really live for quite a while in the backline. And what's also perfect is he has two abilities to escape. He has the, I can't remember what it's called, but I call it Fade. He can basically go out of existence where you can't shoot him and he can just, trot away. But while he's faded, he can be healed by, like, Izayaki at range, so it's very nice for Fletter. Also, he has an ability which typically they engage with, which is like a teleport. And he, like, stops shooting, he goes into a fade, and then he appears at a certain spot of his shooting, actually with an LOS. So it's almost like a Winston dive. So he's very similar to, like, a dive tank, strangely, on the DPS. And a lot of teams now have been embracing this off-tank with the Reaper setup. They're also playing Lip. Soldier just was insane damage on this patch of the Overwatch 2 beta. Which, by the way, is not up anymore, so, well done there, Overwatch League. You're now playing a game that no one else can play, so great work on that. So yeah, Lip on Soldier, you can just pump out a lot of continuous damage. Also, in New Queen Street, there's a lot of flanking angles, so Lip can just flank on his own if he really wants to, maybe with the help of Lee J. Gon or something, or Izayaki, just to keep him up. And they can really, like, pound the front and the back of the Philadelphia Fusion. Then, every team is basically around this support line on 90% of the maps. Lee J. Gon's on Lucio, Izayaki on the Ana. The Nano is great on Soldier. It's pretty good on the Death Blossom as well when you get it. It can also be pretty good on the Reaper anyway, just to give you further damage mitigation. Then he has like 450 HP plus damage mitigation. Like, you are truly a main tank then. Nano Zarya, if you can get to 100 energy, basically becomes a third DPS. So a lot of nice options for the Nano. On the side of the Fusion, we have Belisria on the Winston. We have Zest on the Tracer, so this is very much a conventional dive setup from Overwatch 1. Your Winston jumps in, lands on someone, starts Teslaing them down, and they try and synergize this with Zest blinking into the backline, and they just try and blow someone up. Probably ideally Izayaki. They've also got Carpi on the Soldier again for the same reason that Lip is on it, really. And then again we have the same Lucio Ana backline. Again, Ana gets some great value into Nano and Carpi for the Nano Visor. Also, Nano Winston is very good. You're potentially doing a lot of cleave damage if they're grouped up together. And the Shanghai's team potentially is going to be grouped up. At some point, Fleta will be coming back to Void and probably a support. So you're at least going to have a group of 3 people. If you get Nano and Belisria, he lands on, like, you know, this cluster. He can easily output maybe, like, you know, 300 cleave damage across the board. It's kind of insane. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the map proper. So most teams fight over this fountain in the very bottom of the screen, or a statue. I think it's actually a statue. I'll call it statue, not fountain. But you can see already Zest is on a little flank with Carpe. The DPS have gone for an off angle. The supports can play behind this cafe. Some teams do play inside the cafe as well, which gives you a decent amount of space, like inside this box. You have a little window ledge, so you know, it's like a bit of a shooting gallery. And if people are hurting you, you just dip behind this wall again and you're pretty safe. And this gives you like a sightline over here. You can have some people playing here, sightline this way. Instead for the Fusion, they've not gone for the cafe. They're going to dive in this way. Their support can shoot this way. And we're going to have Soldier beaming them from this angle. So they're going to have a decent crossfire. And I think Zest is going to go all the way around the back. Or he's just going to come straight up the stairs. Okay, Zest is still... Okay, he's just going to come straight up to the statue. Immediately, we have Fleta, who's gone in with the bubble. We have Void right in front of Belisria, who's bubbled himself. And we have a problem now if you're the Shanghai Dragons. This is kind of the counter I've seen from the Winston Dive comp, which is very, very interesting. So Void has gone pretty far forwards. Fleta has gone very deep into the backline, like he's literally back, you know, here. We have Void, who I believe is in this bubble here. I could be wrong, it's very hard to see. Again, we don't have replay viewers, sadly. And a lot of the times, the best target you can get onto, the same with the dive, is the Ana. So they're trying to bubble TP, and they time it in such a way that it'll come up out of TP with a bubble. So he can't be slept by Ana, because that's really the weakness of Reaper is CC. The only CC Fusion have is this sleep dart. So if he gets slept, he's dead. Like, they'll just murder him. He'll be in the backline of the Philadelphia Fusion. Carpi will turn around and will just blow his head off. AimGod could also probably just kill him solo. So they try and get this bubble. They'll get some damage on Fleta. He will try and kill AimGod while he's got the bubble up. And there's not a lot you can do about it. You blow up the bubble. If you do that, that's 200 HP. That's a lot of damage. Void's energy goes up. And when Zarya's energy goes up, her DPS goes up. And then she becomes like a pseudo third DPS. And she can protect and like peel for the backline by virtue of just being near the backline and having an insane amount of damage on your laser beam. Also, you can have Lip with his little, you know, health pad, just to help the supports along. But they're playing pretty narrow at the moment. Their entire team is basically in just this line. They're not setting up a crossfire. They're fully in, we're going to enable Fleta. But what does not enable Fleta? So, Fleta at some point will probably want to get topped up by Izayaki, because he can fade back to the team again and get some health. But he'd prefer to fade back to here. Take this entire space from wherever he's TP'd about the statue to here. Take all this space for his team. Come back to here and just still hold this space. But to do that, he has to be topped up. What Belisria does very well here, and this is, as I started this with, sort of the counter to this, is if you can put a bubble between the Reaper and like the Zarya and the Ana, it's mainly the Ana, and isolate some players from this comp, you can no longer get healed, and the Reaper becomes very susceptible. As soon as the bubble pops, they're going to be in trouble. But the other thing that I said the other teams have been doing, I said it was also the Zarya. So instead of focusing on the Reaper here, They've waited for Void to use both his bubbles. He's bubbled himself, he bubbled Fletter. This was the go button for Fusion. They dived the Zarya, put a bubble on him so Izayaki can't heal him, and then they've just gone full in, and Void is just getting melted. He can't save himself, he has no other escape ability. But he is punished. Carpe finishes off the kill. And now, this Ghost Bubble strat is in ruins. Fletter no longer can have the bubble. That's, you know, basically the entire part of this toolkit. So he's very susceptible now to Aim God's, you know, sleep darts. Also, he's going to struggle to get in. Carpe will just be peppering him with headshots. When he raced in, he will take 100, maybe even die during the TP. So it's probably the best pick you can get into the Shanghai Dragons at the moment. I did say, like, most teams look for the Ana, but getting the Zarya in this comp is so brutal. And again, this was Carpe on the flank, setting up this crossfire, and the Shanghai Dragons have just basically left him to it. It's Lip's job to hold Carpe in place. Like, you're going to have to 1v1 Carpe. Huge anti again from Aim God, but Lip lives. He steps behind that wall, as I said. And now we have some flanking going on. Can I get to a wider shot? No. Rather than, you know, meeting Jeff on the push bot, Shanghai have flanked back round to this high ground on the statue again, which, you know, would enable them to shoot Fusion in the ass. I think what most people do in quick play when this was a thing, they would all be on Jeff, they'd be pushing him round this corner, and then you'd meet the enemy team on this corner or something, and you would fight, like, roughly on the high ground, which you can't see, which is all the way off the right of the screen. But what a lot of Owl's teams do is they flank back around to this high ground. They might leave someone over here, like a tank or maybe a tracer or someone like that, just to stop Jeff's progress. And they will just rail into your ass. And it's not pleasant. That's not what you want. So a lot of teams now have started to develop strategies around this. And one of the most common strategies is that they push Jeff a certain distance. So Fusion have only pushed him 9.53 meters. And they've disengaged. They're like, we don't want to fight in this area. It's not very nice for us because you can shoot us from here. You can flank up through here and shoot us in here. You can even come around this flank and shoot us here. There's just so many angles to defend against. So they back off. They're like, we're in the lead. Like, we'll fight on our own terms. So Fletter's pushing Jeff back. Reaper's pretty good at just, you know, staying on the bot. He has decent survivability and escapability. And we're looking to set up another Ghost Bubble. Again, Shanghai are pretty linear right now, but a bit more of an angle. We have Nano coming up first. Izayaki built so much Nano charge off Void getting melted. Because this is one of the things, like, you'll say, like, oh my god, Aim God's, like, struggling. He's only at 68% of the Nano. Fusion won the fight so cleanly, they didn't take enough damage to build up a Nano. Whereas Shanghai Dragons, you know, they got shot a lot. They did escape with their lives as well, which is another way to prevent the Ana getting a ton of support ult. And she's built up this Nano already. So they're probably going to look at nanoing either Lip for the build up the visor, also just for damage. Void, if he can get 100 energy, super scary nanoed. Or they might just nano Fletter in for survivability. Fletter is just murdered by Zest pre-fight. So I don't know if they're setting up for a nano here. Let me just go back 5 seconds. How fast does he go down here? Like, okay, he's at 75% HP. He steps around the corner. I think Izayaki misses a shot on him, and that's it. That's his ass. It was a combination probably of Carpe and Zest. Before Fletter even got to TP, he's dead. And again, this is your Ghost Bubble setup kind of ruined. Because who do you bubble now other than yourself? Shanghai still invest a nano onto the soldier here to try and fight back. But Lip is instantaneously antied by Aim God. He's the priority now. He can't be healed. But look how much of the visor he builds up. It's crazy. He basically builds a visor off a nano. Bellasaria is punished by a combination, honestly, of the nano. Like, there was really nowhere for Bellasaria to go. Other than, you know, the Shadow Realm. And Zest is on a little flank right now. I think Fusion tried to hold this distance. They were trying to win before then. They will have to give it up now. The second best potential pulse bomb target, the Ana, in this Ghost Bubble. Because now you have no long range healing for Lip. So Lip is going to have to play close to Lee Jae Gon. You don't have it for the Reaper. Also, you're missing out on Nano Charge right now. And the Nano is very good into this comp. Carpi pops Visor. And again, the combination of him and Zest, this DPS duo, just put them back in the ground and they can push Jeff again. Trying to get a few late kills, but they're not able to. And they won that fight with 2 ultimates. They used Pulse Bomb, which I'm going to call it a low value ult, but it's not actually low value. It's actually insanely high value in this game, but it builds incredibly quickly. So, like, you want to throw those out pretty liberally. When you get it up, you want to throw it out and be building up to another Pulse Bomb. So they basically win this with the Visor, which is fantastic, because Lip had to invest... Sorry, Shanghai invested a nano into their comp anyway, so they basically traded an ult here. And they will take the lead again, I think. Yep, they've taken the lead. AimGod still has his nano, so they can start building up to another Visor again. This time, Fusion haven't just given up the territory. They're like, okay, we can play inside this room now. We can keep our support safe. Soldier can flank around the lower side of the screen as well. And Zest can get around this corner as well. They can't be flanked from every single angle anymore. So they're pretty content with this. Shanghai meet them on this corner. Again, Belis Ria has tried to bubble off Izayaki. Let me get the pen out again. So here's your Ghost Bubble comp. Here's Izayaki. Obviously there's the bubble. You put a barrier between them. They can't be healed anymore. I don't know where the bubble status is for Void. I don't know if he's used both of them already. I'd be kind of surprised if he's used them both already. This might be a little bit of an early engage for the Fusion. Or maybe they're just trying to bait some bubbles out. Well, it looks like they've used them, so I guess they've again got the call. That's 2 bubbles gone. Cool little play by Lee J. Gon trying to push Carpi out of position. He receives the nano. Great sleep as well by AimGod. While this has been going on, Lip has also been getting pretty good value. He's killed AimGod. He's killed Fixer. So the Fusion will push this a little bit further, but they will give up on this. They'll probably try and get it to the checkpoint, and then they'll be like, nope. We've won the fight. Okay, they don't even get it, I think. Shanghai Dragons appreciate, like, it's pretty important to stop this before the checkpoint, because he has to wait there for, I think it's like 9 seconds, 8 or 9 seconds, to do his business, just, you know, decide what he wants to do with his life, plan any future meals, maybe book an Uber or something. But he has to do his business, so they don't want to give him that checkpoint, because if Fusion win another fight now, they'll have to wait for that 9 seconds again, which will give Shanghai time to contest. So very good, they contest early, Void gets on there, he bubbles himself. Oh no, he doesn't even bubble himself, he's still got his 2 bubbles. I tell lies and untruths. But Fusion just immediately back off. They're like, we don't want to get split spawn. And look what's going on here again. I think this catches Shanghai a little bit unawares, honestly. They're, I think, thinking they're going to fully back off, back over to this side again like they did before. But they've only come into this room, so they went all the way back. The supports have gone onto this metro way again. And Belisari is on the flank. He's coming into your back line. Has it been scouted? Yeah, it has now, because Belisari has put his bubble down. He has to primal because Fletter was on top of him. Again, the problem playing Winston into this comp is Reaper loves Winstons. Like, you'll see it in ranked all the time, it's like, oh, GG, we're running Winston into Reaper. LOL. And yeah, Reaper does do a lot of work to Winston. Like, if you can get up close to the Winston and Winston wants to play up close, the Reaper will win the 1v1. But Winston has a lot of mobility. He can jump in and out, he can put a bubble, he can bubble dance. So it's not as awful. It's just that he's unlikely to, you know, get the kill on the Reaper in a 1v1. So he has to primal to save himself. Which is fair enough. He's come back to his team. Nice sleep again from Izayaki. AimGod dives the Lip. And they're going to counter dive Izayaki and kill him. Fletter just has an awful time during this map. He's just getting harassed, hounded by Carpi and Zest. Because again, as soon as his bubble and his fade is gone, that's the Reaper, you know, done. He loses the 1v1s versus most of the other DPSs after that. And they're just hunting him down. And once you've lost this Reaper, this Ghost Bubble comp, again, becomes very weak. You lose the Zarya, you lose the Reaper, you're in trouble. I would say a lot of this about 5v5 as well. If you lose one of your puzzle pieces for like a comp, especially if it synergizes, you're in a lot of trouble. I've seen a lot of teams on Circuit Royale as well, where a lot of teams have been running Sigma Widow comps, like sniper comps. If you get picked by one of the snipers, that team almost certainly falls apart. It's very rare they win the 4v5 after that. I think this dive has a little bit more sustainability to it. I think you can pull back the 4v5. Again, it's still really hard, but you don't quite have that same level of synergy. You can definitely pull it back on the ults. So again, Carpe invests quite an early visor. I mean, he's trying to get behind that team. This is Shanghai's spawn. You know, he's just trying to pull them apart. While this was going on, Zest is just doing wonders. Again, he picks Lee Jae-gon, which is kind of insane. But you still lost most of your damage. Carpe is going to be most of the damage to the Fusion's team, unlike Shanghai, where it's probably going to be Fletter and Lip still doing a decent chunk. Like, Fusion want these, like, burst fights where they just, you know, they kill an important target and then, you know, stay alive for a bit longer and then burst the next target down. Their damage spikes. Shanghai's does as well, but they do have a little bit more continual damage with the Soldier and the Zarya. Again, Belis Rhea on the Ana, bubbling the Ana off. Ana has to drop. Zest just kills his Ziaki. You know, just Zest things. Frankly, he's just going crazy at this point. I think he was nanoed as well. In fact, let me just go back. I've not really been paying attention to the ult so far. Was Zest the recipient of this nano? Yes, they give it to Zest. He kills his Ziaki. AimGod dives to Lip as well. Like, at the moment, this is just a DPS show. Lip is doing very well. Zest is doing very well. And they're kind of winning fights off their individual plays. Nice visor. And as soon as, again, you lose both your spots, but if you lose your Ana, you're in trouble. So Shanghai can't push this very far, because they've also lost their Ana. Lee Jae-gon will have come back to bring Izayaki back to the fight. So they might choose to fight here. I don't know if they're quite back yet. Are they in there? I think they are. I think this was a tag that Lucio was there. And this isn't an awful place for Shanghai to fight. You would probably say the other strength of this comp is fighting in a closed room. Winston can't easily dive out. Reaper can, you know, go around corners. Zest pulse bombs Lee Jae-gon. Very nice. Also some nice splash damage. Belis Rhea kills Fletter with the Primal. Fletter doesn't use Death Blossom. I think it's for like 3 fights now. He's not used it. He's just not found space to use it. And Fusion just start cleaning up. Belis Rhea is pushing the bot back quickly. And the rest of the team are going for kills. Looking at this though now, you'd fancy Shanghai Dragons winning this next fight. They have Nano beat. They still have this Death Blossom. But really, who are they going to Death Blossom? It's pretty hard to, you know, find someone. They're really looking for a Void bubble onto Fletter. TP's onto AimGod and just Death Blossoms immediately and just melts him. You're also susceptible to the boot from Fix, so Fix is probably going to try, pardon me, and stay near AimGod. Also, if Fixer can get the beat, they have an answer to this Nano Death Blossom. So Shanghai need to go a bit quicker here. Lip picks AimGod again. Zest is just crazy. He kills Lip. And there's a Death Blossom. They kill Carpe with it instead. Fine. But he was Nano, so they invest Nano, beat. So Lee Jae-gon, does he even get the beat off? He does. So Nano, beat, and Death Blossom to win a fight at the side where Fusion were pushing the cart. So it was expensive, but at least they win it. On the counter side of it, Fusion only use a visor. But this is why this mode is so brutal. You have to invest potentially so many ults to win a fight, and you don't necessarily get much territory back off it. So they're just cleaning up now. No problems here. Zest again. He's crazy. This kid is insane. He kills Izayaki into... How many people were up at this point? I think it's a 4v1. And he kills Izayaki. It's insane. You can see him. He's just always going in Izayaki. Like, Void is bubbling him, and they can't keep him up. Because this is crucial now. Because when Shanghai Dragons come back, Lee Jae-gon could have just sped back. He would have been back in time before the Fusion could have contested. But now he's going to have to wait for Izayaki and taxi Izayaki back, which will give Fusion enough time to contest before they reach anything near the 63 meters. You might even contest at the 43 meter mark. So they're going to get so little distance now because Zest, and I can't remember who the other person was alive with him, but they kill Izayaki. It's such an important pick. Yeah, as the commentators pointed out now, Fusion have now got the ult advantage because Shanghai need to invest lots of ults at their side of the robot. Void is just getting brutalized at the moment. He's probably had to use a bubble to save himself. Again, I'm really interested to see what the bubble usage from Void is. I would love to get the replay viewer, and this comp is still viable, to see exactly how it was working. Zest hits an insane stick again. That's Izayaki dead. And Shanghai can't win now. They cannot sustain a long fight. They're just going to slowly perish. So they use Beat, Pulse Bomb to win a fight. 2 ults. That's fine. You can live with it. And Shanghai got 1 meter for that. It's so brutal, this push map in competitive games. I don't know if any stats have come out yet, but I'd heard rumours that the team that wins the first fight, it's so hard to win back from that. Just because you'll get an ult advantage, and then when you get your ult up, you have to use your ults to, you know, bring the bot back to neutrality, I suppose. And then you basically have to win and with ult disadvantage to gain any distance. It's so hard. Because at this point, Fusion really, they don't need to invest ults into this fight if they don't want to. They can try and take a neutral fight on, make Shanghai use ults, and then save their ults on the defense. But right now, not many ults between the two teams. We're going to get a Primal coming up. We have Nano, we have Visor. Lip will probably go on the flank at some point. Nope, he's staying with the team right now. And again, the Fusion, they just don't want to get picked off. They've backed up. They're going to take the position which has the best defense for them. The onus is not on them to beat the distance. They would love to if they can, but like, their lives mean more. It also makes it harder to get a Visor. Like, how do you Visor inside this metro? Like, you can just easily go back to cover. So right now, Belseria is, you know, he's just pushing the bot, trying to contest it, stopping it just freely moving back. AimGod Nano's Carpe, Lip Visors. So this is the counter the Visor. Nice bubble. But he's basically neutralized Lip's Visor whilst building up some more of his own. And soon we're going to have the reverse. Izayaki's close to his Nano, and Carpe will have his Bear Visor. But again, they're just hunting down the supports. Zest, insane, and this was the last fight. They just missed out, sadly, on the Shanghai Dragon side of things. They're just about to get their Graviton Surge. I mean, they're going to use it, but it's going to be nothing. They were 6% off beat, and they died just as Nano came up. So they were about to get an ult advantage, but I don't think it would have mattered. And this was map 1, so looking really good for the Fusion at the moment. I'd say Shanghai were playing maybe a little bit too narrow. Like, I think Lip could have taken more off angles, but it's kind of hard to say. There was some fights where he got plenty of picks, and maybe he was flanking then. It was kind of hard to see. But overall, the fight was kind of won off the very first fight, where Belseria bubbles off the Zarya after she uses 2 bubbles, and they just fully engage on the Zarya, kill her, and then win the fight from there. Which, very good strategy. Alright. Well, let's see how the teams will do in map number 2. Map 2 takes us to the new escort map, Circuit Royale, where many of the teams so far in the Atlantic Division have been running Sigma sniper comps with a Zen Brig backline and just looking for picks down the long sight lines. Let's see what the APAC teams bring to the table. Going into map 2, we have a few substitutions on the side of the Philadelphia Fusion. Belseria drops out for Fury. Again, this kind of makes a statement of intention to be playing Sigma, who was classically an off-tank role, Fury being an off-tank player. Very highly regarded off-tank player as well. And Carpe drops out for MN3, who I believe in contenders was a hit scan specialist, which again indicates you're looking at some Widow play. Void remains in the squad on the defense for the Shanghai Dragons, But they're doing something a little bit unusual as we come out. They have decided to forego the Sigma-based comp. They're going to run kind of a mixture between what we had in the Ghost Bubble comp with what we've been seeing on the Sigma comps. So let's just let the teams come out first, and we'll talk about this as the Fusion set up their attack squad. Okay. So we had some really weird things going on for both teams. So I don't know if this was an 8-pack special or what. Because I don't think any other teams really ran something like this on Circuit Royale. So Shanghai on defense, they're running Void on the Zarya again instead of the Sigma. So normally what you see in this comp is you'll run Sigma, you'll have the Brig, you'll have a Zen instead, and you'll have some form of harassment. It can be Echo. A lot of teams have been running Tracer, some have ran Genji, but it's something along these lines. I think some teams have also run Ashe, like a full double sniper, some Soldier. Really, this slot is just, you know, whatever you want. But they've forgone the Sigma. So the Sigma is great because you have these huge sight lines. Like, this first point is just big sight line, corner. And then the second point is corner with a huge high ground with a sight line all the way down here. And then the final point, you do have like a curve, but you have probably the most brutal high ground in Overwatch at the moment, as of this beta at least. It's so hard to push into it. It's crazy. And again, Widow pretty good there. So a lot of teams have been running Sigmas because he can just put out his... Oops. Lost my pen. He can just put out his big rectangular shield and send it in the direction of the Widow and protect your team. And if their team has a Sigma and you don't, your Widow has such a huge disadvantage in the Widow 1v1 that you'd fancy at this level your Widow will win. But Shanghai have said, no, we're going to play Zarya instead, and we're going to run this Echo. So, Lip is going to play very far back, is my assumption for this comp. Almost, you know, completely on his own. He's going to look for picks, and if he ever gets hit, they have ranged healing in both the form of the Brigitte, who can throw out an armor pack, and the Ana, who can just, you know, shoot from range. Similarly, Fletter is probably going to be the dive tank, or pseudo dive tank in this type of thing, but it won't be as aggressive as Reaper. Void will probably drop bubbles on Fletter. As he throws the dive bomb, maybe that sniper, he will throw stickies at him, he'll use his Super Beam 5 million, and hopefully that'll be enough to kill a Widowmaker. And then at that point, Lip is just free shooting and just murder the team. Void will then just hold the cart, he'll probably use bubbles for himself, and he's backed up by Lee Jae-gon's shield as well, and the Inspire, so we kind of have this interesting, like, comp where potentially we're going to have this core 3 staying fairly close to each other, the Brig, the Ana, and the Zarya. And Fletter is probably going to keep diving back into this quad, but going on their own as well as like a kind of dive. And then Lip is probably going to play mainly on their own, which is fine. The Widowmaker can play as kind of a bit of a lone wolf. The Fusion, I don't know again who's scrimmed what first, but clearly they have an idea of this comp too, because they're running basically the same thing. They come out with the Zarya, the Widow, the Echo, the Ana, but their choice instead is the Mercy. So they're switching on to Mercy, and I think they stay on this for their attack. So rather than just getting break packs, which Fletter can do for health, Fixer is probably going to stay mainly on Zest. They're going to pocket the Echo, and by pocket, you're going to have, let's do it in a nice blue colour. You have Echo here, flying around in the sky. There are wings, there's a little weird oval-shaped head. And she's going, you know, going pew, 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 and shooting people. The Mercy will have the beam on heal when Zest is getting hit, and she's going to be keeping this lovely Echo in the air. What a wonderful diagram here. This is Mercy, by the way. This is Mercy's wings. But if at any point Zest is, you know, not low on health, or they're actually going to be communicating this. When Zest wants to throw out like the stickies or something, they'll be like, you know, I'm going to do stickies or something, and they'll put out the damage beam instead, and these stickies will do insane damage. Actually crazy burst damage on the stickies. And they're going to try and blow other people up. So the advantage that Zest is going to have is in the 1v1 with the Fletter, the Fleta. Yeah, I'm going to put dirt on the front of it. But Fleta's Echo. Fleta doesn't have this same level of pocket. You'll probably receive, you know, the arm packs. He's going to receive bubbles, which, to be fair, Zest is probably going to receive bubbles as well. But he won't get a damage boost. So he's a little bit susceptible to the 1v1. He's probably going to have less of a chance of winning that 1v1. So you might want to say, you know, let's try and avoid the 1v1. Like, we don't want to take it. We'll just try and burn down MN3. And then get back to my team, and we'll just try and never engage. Zets might try and force the 1v1 with Fleta. Because if you kill Fleta, that's your aerial domination. You'll be in the sky. And the only thing that can really stop you is Lip headshotting you. Which could happen. But it's going to take a pretty good skilled shot. Then the only other weakness I'd say for the Fusion, and I think this is again why they've run out on the break. It was a counter to potentially a Tracer coming out. So as I mentioned, teams have been running Tracers, teams have been running Genji. This offers more protection to both Zarya and to the Ana from the dive. Fusion don't really have this. Aimguard is going to kind of be on his own, but the only pressure is going to come from Fleta. So Fury saves a bubble as well for Aimguard as well, like a counter bubble. You can neutralize what Shanghai are doing here. So what a lot of this will come down to is picks and bubble usage. Which again makes me annoyed that we can't see the replay viewer. So Lip is actually fairly close for the Widows. They normally play right at the back of the arch. She's actually playing inside this little side room here. And then backs off immediately. But you look at, like, this car is insane cover. You can sit behind it. And they're just not showing themselves. The only person showing themselves is Void at the moment. Who, you know, can bubble themselves. And they can survive a headshot. Fleta ends up winning the 1v1 with Zest. But rezzed immediately. That's the other nice thing about having the Mercy. If you get picked and you're in a safe position, you can just res it off. Again, Fleta's getting the bubble. He's lost the bubble, and that's immediately Zest on his ass. And Zest gets the bubble. So as I said, this was bubble usage. Fleta went aggressively to try and kill. I'm not sure who you were even on here. Possibly MN3 as they did a grapple shot. Who is dropping down here? Yeah, I think Fleta's trying to kill MN3. They invest the bubble Shanghai, they counter bubble, and Zest just murders them. And there's no res here now, so again, you're in a 5v4. Izayaki somehow kills MN3. But Zest is in a little playground at the moment. He's killed his only counter, realistically. And now it's just, you know, die cart. Fixer also gets killed by the Zarya. Doesn't matter. Mercy's pretty fast to get back anyway. And the spawn's not too far away on first point. Someone will probably pick them up. In fact, someone else died. MN3 did, so MN3 will probably pick up the Mercy. And again, they're being pocketed again. Again, another long sightline, high ground set up. And so far, the ult charge, not too dissimilar between the two teams. The big exception is Fleta. Only 38% to copy, Zest 72%, because, you know, they lived through the fights, they cleaned up most of the kills, they got the ult charge. But it's really rough for these Zarya players. They're both trying to contest the cart at the moment, but into sightlines. Obviously, you have a better defensive sightline right now. Both trade a little shot into one another. And Lip wins the 1v1 with the Widows. But again, we have a res. During the res, the Lip headshots Zest, and then Lip just goes insane. Lip is unbelievable on hit scan, by the way. An MVP contender from last season. And this is just, you know, going to show. MN3 a rookie coming into this year for the first time. And he has a tough ask at the moment to keep Lip in check. And now we're close to ult neutrality. Again, the main difference here, again, AimGod used Nano in the last fight. I don't know who they nanoed, but they got no value off it. I won't go back for it. It was probably Zest to keep Zest up, but they got headshot anyway and died. They have Valkyrie, which is pretty nice as an ult. Again, I wouldn't say it was a hugely high value ult, but, you know, that can tip a fight in your favour, especially on the damage boost side of things. And Shanghai haven't got their rally yet, which is potentially a defensively fight-winning ult. Both teams have Grav, and immediately Fusion see that Lip walls, and they back off. They go in a fight into walls. Wallhack, surprisingly at this level, is very scary. Aimgod was very lucky there to live. Wasn't aware that Lip had come so far forwards. The Widowmaker sights is over, so now Fusion are pushing back in again. This is given time, again, for ults to rise. Lip picks them in 3 again, and things are looking pretty good for Shanghai at the moment. But as I said, this type of comp, the sniper comp, is so dependent on, like, the Widow winning the 1v1 with the other Widow. Because as soon as you do that, you have some space. Admittedly, in this variant of it, the Echo is going to be on your ass. Like, you can see Zest immediately trying to put pressure on Lip again. And if Lip gets the kill on Zest, that's it. That's the fight completely over. But you're still forcing 2 characters to engage with 1 at the moment, so it's in the advantage of Shanghai. Shanghai rally. That Grav is just yeeted by Fury, but it hits one of the most important pieces for the Shanghai Dragons, the Ana. Your big source of healing. They tried to rally to keep them up, they can't. Zest is thrown in stickies and so on, probably damage boosted stickies. Nice shot from MN3, forces the copy out. Headshots Fleta in the copy, so Fleta copies Zarya here. So for a microsecond, they're double Zarya. Void throws out a Graviton Surge because they intend to fight this. MN3 makes a great play here. The headshot onto copied Zarya. Remember, the copied Zarya only has 300 HP, it's not 400. So it leaves them basically on 1 health and someone else tickles them down with damage. On the other side of things, Zest has also copied the Zarya, so we have a double Zarya comp again for Fusion. But wasn't immediately a headshot, so they're going to get the advantage of 2 tanks. The Grav also gets basically no value here from Void. He tries to grab the wall, but unfortunately for him, both Fixer and MN3 are behind the wall at that point, so they can't be shot. Zest kills Legia gone. Like, look at the ult charge of the copies area, and that's another Graviton Surge. And that's a fight win for Fusion. Honestly, on the back of Widow play. Nice pick from... almost pick from M3. But Lip is still getting the advantage of the, the sniper duel here, so... It's a pretty close map. Honestly, closer than I think a lot of people were expecting it to be. Right, looking into the ults again, Shanghai invested almost everything into that last fight, which is kind of crazy, and they lost it, which is always a bad sign when you put into the fight 4 ults. They, I think, used Nano in the fight, and maybe they used that just before, I'm not actually sure now, but they definitely used Rally, they definitely used Grav, they definitely used Copy, and got no value. Fusion used Copy, they used Grav, and then they won the fight. I guess they've used Sights at some point during this as well, but Sights is something you respect, but it's not the most hugely high value ultimate in the game. You can play around it pretty easily at this level. It normally saves you a bit of time. But they have that Nano, so again, the ult advantage is in the Fusion's favour right now. If Fury still has his high charge, expect a Nano Zarya. Because if you can build up another Grav again very quickly in this comp, you're going to, you're going to do work. Grav is such a huge fight-winning ultimate that I'd fancy the Nano here going on Zarya. And remember as well, Void had their energy reset as well because they died. And they're going to have to rebuild it up. The other alternate the alternate choice for the Nano is Zest, and it is Zest who gets the Nano in the end. He's going to try and blow someone up. They're going very hard into Void right now. He's nanoed, he was being damage boosted, but they failed to get a pick. Lee J. Gon kills Fury. Somehow, Lip is behind the Fusion. Maybe he sneaks up there and just stays there, and they don't scout it. But very good fight win for the Shanghai Dragons. Into an ult disadvantage. They use no ultimates, Fusion used 1. So Walls again is about to come up. They're probably going to have to respect this. So here come the walls. Fixer immediately dead. Fletter comes in. He knows where everyone is. They used their nano as well, so this was nano in sight, so it was 2 ultimates. Fusion used nothing. This is fine for both teams, honestly. Fletter goes for a little bit of spawn camping here. A little bit of trolling, maybe, occurs at this moment. Hiding behind the car. Immediately he's scouted by Fury, and he's like, oh dear, I'm on my own, I have no mercy with me. I'll hide in their spawn, their original spawn. Oh, nope, the team has come back for me, and that's a pick. Lip kills MN3 still, but he's basically killed him at the spawn door, so, you know, he's going to be back in a moment. Or he's going to get rezzed immediately. And as I said, this is a 5v4. Zest is kind of free in the sky now just to dive bomb who he wants. It's Lip who he wants. He gets the bubble, he's getting boosted. Like, the resources are just going into Zest at the moment. Early rally. Grav, Fletter copies Ana. Now, I've seen a few copies doing this. Copying the Ana, trying to build up another nano. Trying to anti-people as well. But this is often in the Winston comp where you can dive on top of someone. It's kind of odd to copy the Ana into this comp, really, because who are they going to look for the nano here? I guess it's going to be the Zarya. But it's so little damage. You trade a lot of your damage out. But it's good enough for them. They're gravitoned off the cart. They can't get back to the cart. And Fusion only push 1 point. So, advantage definitely in the favour right now of the Shanghai Dragons. So, are we going to get any substitutions on the defence from the Fusion? Probably should have just skipped this ahead a little bit. Apologies, but give us a defence, please. So we have some substitutions on the defence. Fusion have brought out their Brigitte, but otherwise it's the same comp. So Zest is not going to get as much of a pocket, but Fixer can protect Fury and Aim God a bit more. And he can still throw out armor packs. Shanghai Dragons come out on the exact same comp as they ran on the defence. Lip right now is just looking for a grapple shot. None are forthcoming, so he walked out the spawn. And you can see right now, Fixer is right up with Fury. Zest somehow kills Lee J Gon instantaneously. He's on a little bit of a flank at the moment. Or at least a little cross angle. I like it. Shanghai have to expend resources to push him out of here. And you can see already, Void is coming round to contest this. Force him out and hopefully Lip will shoot him. Lip body shots, and that's crucial. If Lip headshots Zest there, and they kill him, that's the first point, almost. They'll push to the corner, at least. But he lives. Also, a very nice bubble from Fury, but a bit late, honestly. So again, Lip is looking for MN3. He knows where he is now from the shot trail. And Fusion just give up this first section. It's a decent point to defend, but they're like, this is a much better point for us to defend. It's worse sightlines for your Widow, better for ours. And this is a pretty aggressive angle from MN3. He finally wins the 1v1 versus Lip, which is huge. And again, now Shanghai have to respect this. They can't really get onto him other than with Fletter. Fletter doesn't have the same pocket that Zest did in the previous round either. By this point, Lip is respawned, so again, they back off a little bit. But so far, a lot of posturing, honestly. Very close to, like, ults on all sides of things. Like, Lee J Gon is a bit off, I suppose, on the Brig ults. I guess they've not been able to proc Inspire as much as Fixer has. 15% behind, pretty disappointing. Lip getting headshot as well as now, 30-odd% behind. But Fury, Zest, and Aim God are all within like 1% or 2% of their counterparts. What's kind of interesting here as well, let me just get the pen out again. At this corner, Fury and Fixer are holding way more aggressive than Void and Lee J Gon were. They're literally holding like at this corner here. Void, so there's I don't know if you remember, but there's a door here, and obviously the door here, to go around this, like, inner little tiny flank. Void was holding at the back of this corner of this door instead. So they were basically allowing the fusion to push slightly further around this corner. And rather than where, like, you know, Fury and Fixer are now, which is basically on top of each other in this corner, Lee Jae-gon was over here instead. So they're playing much more like, almost like an off-tank role type of thing. Because again, Brig with a 200 HP or shield, I think it's 200, or 150, I don't remember. Plus whatever their health is. It's almost like a pseudo off-tank. She can just sit there and survive a little bit longer. Shield bash away to safety. But because she's playing more aggressive, she's getting more Inspire. Therefore, she's going to get Rally sooner. It's just a slight difference in the playstyle of the comps. Again, Fury's going aggressive. They're just not giving Lip a lot of space. Like, he's basically in mid-range right now. Now they push him around the corner. Fury gets very low. They clearly, you know, they count for bubble times things. They've nanoed Fletter. Aim God is going to nano as a counter. They nano Fury, and Fury immediately grabs. I love this. This is a little bit of a bait play. In fact, can we slow this down a bit? Is the technology there for us? I think it is. So you can see, look how low Fury's going here. He was unbelievably low. In fact, take me back further. Because this is a crucial fight. This is as the first ults go up. So Fletter bubbled nanoed. He's going on MN3. If he can kill MN3, Lip has free sightlines basically. Zest would have to, you know, trade the counterpart. And MN3 is just surviving thanks to a combination of probably the Brig, Pax, and Ana heals. At the same time, Fury's out of bubbles and Void hard pushes Fury. He drops incredibly low. The nano goes on to Fury. Nice little shot as well from Aim God. And it basically has baited the Shanghai Dragons to come round this corner into the sightlines of MN3, who's now been fully healed as well. Fletter hasn't got a kill off his nano and he's trying to come back because he's 41 HP as well. And really bad situation for Shanghai to be in. They've baited around the corner. They get graviton by Void. Fury uses his grav... Sorry. Void and Fury both grab basically each other in the corner. But because the sightlines kind of favoured the fusion, and because Fletter had taken so much damage, he was also getting healed by Izayaki, and then he gets slept as well, Fusion get more value from their grav. Also, Fury being nanoed inside the grav takes less damage. So this was a pretty big investment for both teams. Nano and grav are fairly high impactful ults. Both teams invest it, and the Fusion win the fight. And not just win it, they stomp it. And this was honestly thanks to a bit of good play from Aim God, honestly. And they pick off Void, that's going to reset his ult charge. And by pick, I mean they stagger him, I suppose. And again, we're coming up to a very similar situation. Fusion have got their copy, they've got their sights, they're about to get their rally. Shanghai are about to get their copy, they've already got their sights. They're a bit off their rally though, they're not going to get it as soon as Fusion. If they're aware of this, they could rally and push pretty aggressively. Again, Fury and Fixer are holding very close. Like, they're just refusing to let this cart move much further. Both teams' sights, they like counter one another. The other nice thing about Brig, having a shield, harder to headshot. So you can scout a little bit as Brig into the Widow and just see where the Widow is. Obviously right now they have sight, so they know where one another are. Fletter copies the Zarya again, Zest copies the Zarya. Deja vu, it's the same fight as before, but Fletter hasn't just been immediately headshot this time. So it's whose copy is going to get the most value here. Spoiler, it's going to probably be Zest, because Fixer is also rallying right now. Lee Jae-gon is 11% off the rally. So Zest has effectively more HP, more survivability. Both teams have 4 bubbles, but soon they're going to be none, and both teams are going to have insane energy and insane DPS. Little flank here from Zest. Zest breaks the copy of Fletter, so he doesn't get the value of the grav. So again, Fletter is basically not at value of copy this game. And Zest gets a grabs the backline of the Shanghai Dragons, and that's another fight win. They get Izayaki, I think they'll get Lee Jae-gun eventually. Big misplay! Look at how many they're down here. So Zest is going to grab them. Oh, actually, you know what? Not misplay. Unlucky play is what I'm going to say. Lee Jae-gun rallies inside the grab. Izayaki dies in the grab. Fletter also loses his copy. It looked worse than it is. Void also gets burnt through the rally. So Lee Jae-gun gets no value out of his rally. He doesn't quite build up enough health. It's like he's not quite early enough. He gets antied and killed. So again, both teams have copied the same amount of ultimates. And the Fusion have come out on top. And what's worse here is, look at the time now. It's hard to see because, black and red. There's 10 seconds left. So Void has to go for the Doom to try and touch. Zest, who I think dies as Echo, comes back as Tracer instead because they just want to fight the neutral. And they don't get a touch, so Fusion hold them and win the second map. There were honestly some small differences there. I think one of the big things was getting the value out of the Echo copy. MN3 made a great outplay to Fletter on the first map to stop them, to get them to push a little bit further. Because remember, if they don't kill Fletter there, that could have been easy for the Fusion to be held at this corner as well. And then the counter of it is just the aggression that was being played by Fixer versus how it was being played by Lee Jae-gun. Just meant that they got their rally soon. They rallied earlier and got more advantage of being more proactive. I mentioned this in a previous video as well. I think being proactive in Overwatch 2 has typically been a stronger play than being more reactive. Rather than waiting for the enemy team to do something and then you responding to it, if you set up your own strategy first and make the other team use ultimates to counter what you're doing, that is the way to go. So they rallied proactively, whereas Shanghai Dragons was reactive to the grab. And just these small things have caused Shanghai to get held. Also, this map is so hard to push. It's insane, by the way. So it's not that surprising that the teams, don't make it near the second point even. Anyway, that was the second point. Can the Shanghai Dragons come back and reverse sweep? Or will this rookie team beat the champions of last season? Map 3 took us to the hybrid map, King's Row, one of the fan favourite maps. And a very interesting map because we've seen a lot of teams in the Atlantic Division running this Zarya Ghost Bubble comp. We've seen some teams running a Ryan Rush, mainly the London team. We've seen some doing Winston Die, so that it seems to be a bit, all over the place in this point as what is the meta comp. Let's see what Fusion and Shanghai bring to the table. So entering the third map, we have the Shanghai Dragons on attack and the Fusion on defense. And we've had another substitution. The Shanghai Dragons have dropped Fletter for Who Are You? Who Are You being kind of an infamous Genji player in Asia. Again, probably regarded as maybe the best Genji, or at least the flashiest Genji in the East. So again, this is a real statement of intent that the Shanghai Dragons comp is going to be a Genji-based comp. You run Who Are You, you're expecting Genji. To respond with this on the Fusion on defense, they're keeping the same comp they had on Circuit Royale, which again suggests they're going to run this bubble comp. But again, they're not running it with the Reaper. They've brought their Echo out again, they've run Brig again, and Anna again. All the same. But instead of Widow, they're bringing out Ashe instead. Now, a lot of APAC teams ran this Ashe comp rather than a Widow or a Hanzo, one of the other snipers, or even the Soldier. And a lot of teams got a bit of flack off some of the commentators of the Owl saying I don't understand why you'd run the Ashe. It just looks really bad. It's a bad look. I don't hate the Ashe look. And for a very specific reason. If you are running the Winston comp and you jump up, look at how many scary answers they have to this. You have the coach gun off Ashe. You have the boop off Brigitte, either with the shield bash or with the flail. Then the target could get bubbled as well. It's so anti-dive that if you try and run a Winston comp into this is pretty rough. It's also pretty rough for a Genji as well to run into this. You could get coach gunned away as Genji, whip shot away. It's so hard to engage. And who do you really engage on? Obviously, you want to get onto the Anna, but Anna's probably going to have Brig by their side the entire time. And if you do get onto them, Fury can just drop a defensive bubble onto the Ana, and things should be okay. Also, if you can build up Bob fast enough, then Bob will be a 6 member. A 6v5, if you remember from Overwatch 1, was a pretty easy fight to win. And they can contest the cart as well, so they can, all heal up, put Bob onto the point. Bob can contest for them and then they, heal up and come back out again. So I don't hate this comp. Like, I don't hate the Ash-based comp. You are missing out on some consistent damage that Soldier offers. Do I think Bob is a better ult than Visor? Not necessarily. But another thing you have to remember as well is if you're going to say, like, okay, I'm the Ana player, they Bob, we're going to sleep the Bob. That's using your sleep dart. Like, you're forcing them to use the sleep dart on the Bob so that you can stay in position without fully backing off. Because Bob is a scary beast when he's, awake. Like, you have to respect the Bob. You can't just, like... You definitely can't murder it as easily as you could in Overwatch 1. There's not a div there just DMing the shots anymore. There's very rarely, like, a Reinhardt there just shielding off the damage or something like that. You have to... You basically have to sleep or fully engage on the Bob. And if you fully engage on the Bob, the Fusion will just murder you as well. So, like, it's a pretty strong ultimate. So I don't hate it, as I said. I'll let this roll a little bit further to see what the Shanghai are going to run. But again, they've left Void in, so you're expecting Void being an off-tank player to play this bubble comp. So Lip is going to have a little peek out on Widow. Again, the break is scouting. They've just got their shield out. They're looking at what comes out of the spawn. Lip goes like, okay, this doesn't look great to run a Widowmaker into. I'm going back. And they go onto the Soldier. So this is a lot of consistent damage. And instead of this now Ghost bubble comp, we have the Genji bubble comp. So Genji's going to go in. He can receive a bubble off Void to get energy. He can, throw some shurikens out. And then when he runs out of bubble, he can deflect as well for survivability, keep getting healed up, and eventually dash out. Not as threatening as the Reaper is, in all honesty, because the Reaper can, come in from the side and in 3 or 4 shots kill your entire team. The meme. But yeah, he hasn't quite got the kill presence that Reaper has. He hasn't quite got the HP pool that Reaper has. And honestly, he just doesn't have the damage that Reaper has. Like, he can't just murder Fury or like a Winston or like one of your backliners. He can get like a dash reset. If like Lip hits a nice helix, he can dash in, get the kill, dash out again on the reset. Blade is Blade is better than Death Blossom as well. I think there are more uses for the Blade, especially in this 5v5 comp. So I understand why they're running Who Are You here. And I don't think it's awful. But I think I prefer the Reaper look than the Genji look. This is the other nice thing for Ashe on this point. A lot of teams take this high ground as the attackers and try and push the other team off it. Because otherwise, if you go straight to statue, you'll have like, well, I guess in this comp, Zest will be shooting from the high ground. Ana might be throwing nades at you. Fury might be on the point. You're just getting shot from all sides. You clear one of those sides out. And normally the other team rotates back around to the high ground and you get onto the point. And then you rotate around their high ground. And eventually someone will die. But because they have to go through that choke, it's a really good place to put a dynamite. So you throw out the dynamite, you shoot it, you build up a Bob very quickly. Also, if you get like dynamite plus a nade on someone, Zest is going to clean them up with, the Super Beam 5 million. Unfortunately for Zest, he gets a bit caught out in this corner. I think they decide to fight up here. And really only Zest can do it, so I think he gets a bubble of Fury and just gets melted down. To counter this, Fury does kill Who Are You. Now again, you're going to get a lot of people going like, running Genji into Zarya, what a fool. Because, Genji, when I say he can deflect damage, he cannot deflect beams, so he can't deflect the Zarya beam. So if she gets high energy, she's a very scary prospect for the Genji. But equally, you have to respect the Genji in certain other ways. Like, if you get Graviton Surge, you do not want Graviton Surge deflected in Overwatch 1. You definitely don't want it to happen in Overwatch 2. It's a great fight-winning ultimate, and you have very few other shields, so that's pretty scary proposition. But also, Who Are You is probably unlikely to be trying to interact with the Zarya as much as possible. So I'm going to presume he was going on MN3 very aggressively. Fury turned around, and between them, they murdered them. Somehow Fixer also dies. I don't know if they were trying to help Zest, because we have the worst camera angle right now. Lip goes on this inside flank, and this is fight over already. Shanghai just forced them out. This, again, Avril right now is saying I don't like the Ashe here, and MN3 is going to switch off the Ashe. It's not really worth running after this first point. You are susceptible in the Ashe to just being run over, because, like, obviously if you try and get onto legs, he just jogs away. The jog champ jogs away. Ashe can coach gun away, like, she can coach gun to a high ground. After the coach gun, though, she's very susceptible to just being, like, run over. And this is kind of what happens here. I think she uses, like, her abilities on Who Are You. Who Are You dies. But then the rest of the Shanghai just, you know, overwhelm teams on the point. But this was not a great defense for the Fusion. I don't know how Zest dies on the high ground over here just solo. I think it gets Fixer killed as well. But again, without the replay view, it's pretty hard to see exactly how that plays out. The only nice thing for Fusion here was that the fight was so clean, like they lost people just immediately, that Shanghai don't really build up a huge ult bank here. Lip has obviously got like a huge advantage of the Visor now. He's going to get Visor first. But the other ults are pretty comparable. Also, the other difference between the two comps right now is Lee Jae-gon's on the Lucio, Fixer on the Brig. So Shanghai Dragons can disengage whenever they want, because Fusion will not be able to catch them. They do not have the speed. Also, Shanghai Dragons can fight whenever they want because they have speed and the Fusion cannot get away. So this is very nice for the Shanghai. They can basically choose when they fight. But they don't have the sustainability that a Brig offers. I would also value Sound Barrier higher than Rally in this variant of the game, but it's pretty close. They're both fairly good ultimates, but the immediate burst overheal, very good to counter like a Nano Visor or a Genji Blade. Who Are You is very unlucky then not to kill Zest. I presume Zest receives a bubble as he drops out the window. Because I think those deflected stickies should have done enough damage. Whereas he took basically nothing. And Zest is getting a lot of rough attention on him. He gets antied but escapes. Here's the Nano for Airman 3. Nice Nano for Aim God. They counter Nano Lip. But again, I said you want to be proactive than reactive. By the time Lip has received the Nano, Who Are You is dead, Void is dead. So he has to back up. He doesn't get that much value off his Nano. He does build his ult, but that's it. And the Fusion hold. They trade ults 1v1. Very nice for them. Also, just as a little bit of a note, Who Are You is really far off the blade at the moment. He's been overtaken by MN3, who admittedly did receive a Nano, but this is a pretty slow blade at the moment. Lip kills Fixer, he's used his Visor, but Fusion decide to invest ultimates. They grab him on the side, and I presume Lee Jae-gon is with him, and one Helix rocket from M3 kills both of them. Which is a pity because Lee Jae-gon has beat at the moment. He overtakes Fixer for Rally. He would have loved to have kept them up with the beat. So we now have this core of 3 just cycling around. They flank back the other way. I don't think Shanghai expected them to come out this way. And MN3 tries to invest Visor. They try to win this 3v3. Unfortunately for him, he's immediately antied as he pulls out his Visor. And Who Are You dashes through him and kills him. And this is most of the damage going from the Fusion now. Aim God is also killed by the Genji. Fury does trade Who Are You, who's having a bit of a miserable time at the moment, but Fury gets his energy reset. So again, looking pretty nice from the Shanghai. They were proactive, they used ults early. Lip did really well, honestly, in this series. Got a lot of value off his Visors. And they forced out the Graph for Fusion, who don't win the fight. And the Visor. So it's looking really, really good for the Dragons right now. And we're about to get on the Who Are You Blade train. Fury low again. Big Grav. Immediately Fixer rallies. That's our defensive tool for the Grav. Not as good as the Sound Barrier. You can definitely get burst through the Brig ult, the rally. However, one of the nicest things to get through rally is Nano Blade, because you do such a high amount of burst damage that it overwhelms the overhealing. However, just a Bear Blade takes way longer. I'm not exactly sure how many slices it works out as, but like full health rallying Brig, I think it's going to be 3 or 4 slices for Fixer to die. Not including any of like the healing and stuff going on. it's going to be pretty brutal for Who Are You to get through. But they focus the rally, they kill it. Zest copies here for another Zarya. So they trade ults again. Zest really needs to try and get as much value as he can. Gets taken out of the copy by Lee Jae Gon. And things are looking wonderful right now for Shanghai. They beat just to try and finish it off. They pull out the blade, they're just going to use it to clean up. Somehow that doesn't hit Aim God, I'm calling shenanigans. And very quick to 2 points at the moment. And the ult bank is looking good again. Like, Shanghai, they weren't, I guess they were proactive in the sense they used the Graviton Surge. And then they were kind of reactive after that. They waited for Fusion's ult to come out. They waited them out a little bit. And then they used theirs to clean up. That is also fairly fine to do. I mean, it works in this situation. That being said, though, I wonder if this was an overcommit. I actually think we're going to go back in time in this fight. Just a little bit. Because I want to see how, like, the beat was forced out. Because at this point, so Fix has died in the Graviton Surge. Let's slow this down a little bit. Zest has lost his copy. He's just losing it literally as we speak. So that's the rally gone, the copy gone. So they're 2 ultimates already down. Shanghai at this point have only used Graviton Surge, but they're up in numbers. And they're about to use the beat. Is this to try and save Lip? Again, we're not going to get a great angle because we're on the point of view of Who Are You. So yeah, Lip drops very low and then actually perishes to MN3, which I presume is on the flank. Lee Jae Gon beats to try and keep Lip up, I think. Because I guess this goes into a 4v4, so they're like, we have to use ultimates now. Okay. You know what? I think this is fine. It's pretty good from the Fusion. It's just a bit of an outplay, I suppose. MN3 wins the 1v1 with Lip. Brings us back to a 4v4. And the Shanghai Dragons just want to guarantee they win it. Because it's a really rough spot to be held. They want to get this to 3rd. So I don't mind them investing another ult for this. And I think it was pretty good for Who Are You as well to wait for the Grav to end before blading. Right, Zest is now off the Echo. He's going to pull out his own Weeb stick. He's going to go into Genji too. And now we're on roughly matching comps, with the exception of the Lucio and the Shanghai Dragons attack, and the Brigitte and the Fusion's defense. But we're hitting a point now where the speed is not as important anymore. It'll be good to be speed disengaging, but realistically the Fusion are not disengaging anymore. They're going to try and hold the ground, because the only way back from here is the spawn door. Zest then puts his Weeb stick back away and goes back onto Echo. Whoever's the shot caller is like, nope, Zest, you're not having fun right now. Get back on that Echo. If you copy Who Are You and you get a blade that way, that's fine. That's the way you're going to do things. It's like, okay, yes, master. But again, because this was won so close, Shanghai Dragons get a decent bit of push. Pushed all the way to this corner. Lip receives the Nano. This is Nano Visor. What do Fusion have to counter this? They haven't got a sound barrier. The rally isn't up, and it's also not a great counter to the Nano Visor. It's not going to overheal the burst damage from the Visor. It would help, but not completely neutralize. Zest is also in a really rough spot at the moment. And Fury's just out in the open. He's used his bubbles. So this is insane bits of play, by the way. In fact, I want to slow this down, because this was nearly my play of the week. And it's kind of weird, I guess, to call it a play of the week, because it wasn't a huge offensive play, but it was a great defensive play. So Fury uses a bubble up here onto Echo. I think Fury's already used another bubble. He hasn't got a secondary bubble at the moment. Void has countered these bubbles. Nano Visor. Fury, to try and get back quicker, is going to do a... I don't really know what to call it, but like a right-click jump. He's getting hard focus. You could see armor packs coming to Fury. Shots were coming from Aim God. Lip, though, he wants to kill Zest. Zest is a big chunk of damage from the Fusion's team. Not as much as MN3. But he's also an aerial character, so they're going to find it harder to get back to cover. Because, you know, they're in the sky. The play Zest makes here is insane, because Zest is going to live through this. He gets a bubble, very nice from Fury, under the map, and just breaks LOS. This was nearly my play of the week, because he lives through this. Look at his health at the moment. It wasn't just a visor, it was a nano visor. And that has wasted... Over 50% of the nano visor has been used on Zest. They didn't kill him, he's lived under the map. Nice bubble from Fury as well. Without the bubble, he would have died. But it's given the time for the rest of the fusion to go into cover now. Like, look at the rest of the team. Anna's behind the box. Like, he's not going to get there in time for the visor. Fury's at full health again. Anna's now being nanoed as a counter. And he's just currently, with his angry beam of hornets, murdering Who Are You? And MN3 is going on a flank. So is Void, strangely. And they're going to meet in a moment. But this was a massive play. So we come back in. Who Are You also lives through the nano Zarya. Zest is still 1 HP, but has flown back up through this little gap over here and gone for the Mega. And no one has noticed. So Zest is now in your backline. M3 counter visors. Who Are You is killed. And they clear up. Lip dies. They really would like to get Void if they can, so they're going to chase him. But not too aggressively. Because they don't want to be immediately, you know, countered. They got some people killed. Let's play it a bit safer. Let's hold this corner. And this is another thing which the pro teams do, which, again, I don't really do on, like, the ladder or anything like that. If I were playing this comp, I would be holding this first corner. I'd be here. With, like, my Rhine shield or something, but even on Zarya, I'd be here. Because I don't need any team just to walk all this way for free. This is a nice long sightline. I'd like to play here. And if I get pushed back, I can just come into this side room here and can, you know, come all the way back round again and fairly safe. The pro teams will just play on this corner if the cart is here. Which is definitely much safer than, you know, playing over here. Like, you can get back to this area over here, or you can go back over here and, you know, break LOS. So Fusion are going to hold back. Also, MN3 has now decided to ditch the Soldier, and he's just going to go for a Widowmaker. Which is really interesting, because I have said throughout this, Soldier has almost been like a must pick into every comp. Like, it's been a part of the dive comps, it's been a part of the Reaper bubble comps, even like the Echo bubble comps. Even Rush have been running Soldiers in it. But one thing Soldier is a bit scared of is a Widowmaker just clicking on his head from outside of his, you know, range. So this now gives Who Are You a must-mark target. You have to be on MN3. You have to help me with him because I can't really shoot him. I can't engage. If I pepper MN3 a little bit, he just backs up again and just immediately gets an armor pack or fix or something and, you know, back to full health. If he clicks my head, I'm dead. There's no shield really other than a Void bubble. And it's pretty hard to bubble someone versus a hit scan because, you know, it's hit scan. If they click your head and you're not bubbled, you're dead. So this is a lot of pressure now for Lip, and they have to respect this sightline. Even it's hard for Who Are You. He does have to deflect. A nice gap closing tool, but he's still susceptible to being headshot. Like that. MN3 just goes insane. Look at how aggressive he grapples into the team. I mean, he's got 2 picks at this point, so, you know, it's fight 1. Holy shit, that was good. I thought MN3 looked a bit subdued on the second point. Sorry, the second point. The second map on Circuit Royale on the Widow. I thought Lip generally had the advantage over him. But man, they were some nasty shots. And the other great thing about playing as Widowmaker, which by the way, he's just swapped over and got 60% in one fight. But again, the ult is not that impactful. Widowmaker can have insane value off a primary fire. Like, you can have a fight winning, you know, headshot or 2. More so than like an ultimate. So if you don't have an ultimate on your hero, like he's just used his visor, he might not build up another visor. He probably would in like 2 minutes 30, admittedly. But rather than like trying to build up another visor, if you just click someone's head with Widowmaker, that's like the same as using a visor. If you get 1 kill in a 5v5 with visor, that's pretty good value, just a bare visor. So she's a really scary prospect. She's very susceptible to being dove upon. But Void is not going to go to Winston. He's an off-tank player. So they have to deal with it with this bubble setup. Now, there are ways to deal with it. Obviously, the Genji's a pretty good answer to this. You can also go to your own Widowmaker. So again, who I'll use immediately on top of him, and he just backs off. Nice Graviton Surge, M3 headshots, voiding the Grav. And it's back off time already. Unbelievable. Again, that's the situation as well for Lip. Lip hits a few shots into M3, just crouches and backs up. Can't be shot anymore. The threat isn't quite there for the Soldier into the Widow. It's the reverse role. And now the team are just going to pick them off. They've cut Lip off, so he's going to die. Gets headshot again. And Lip probably wants to match M3 at this point, but he has Visor. He wants to use the Nano Visor. So he's going to be stuck on this pick. And realistically, Shanghai have to win this fight coming up. They have Grav, Nano Visor, close to Beat, close to Blade. But Fusion have 4 ults of their own. They're going to know exactly where they're coming from. They're going to have to respect this. Copy's going to come up, so Zest could copy a Zarya and bubble people in the Grav. Like, this is a pretty scary fight for Shanghai, and this is all because M3 has clicked heads. He's come out and clicked heads and won 2 fights. They've used 1 ultimate in 2 fights. That's unbelievable economy. He goes a bit too aggressive here. Lip hits him with a nice helix, who you dashes into him. This should be the go button now for Shanghai, and indeed it is. They're pushing up aggressively. Zest copies Anna, I think, and is immediately taken out of his copy. They Grav. They still have the Visor. They Nano Blade. To counter this, and this is really interesting. So, I've mentioned already, if you're looking for nanos in this comp, these 2 are probably your nano targets. Get a Graviton Surge, get a Duplicate faster, or just blow someone up. On the Dragons, you might also say the Soldier is also your nano target. That's acceptable. Aim God into the Nano Blade, because this is basically, last fight territory for Fusion. Nano's Brigitte. Now, some people will say on ladder, Nano Brigitte, that is the ultimate boss. It's pretty bad, though, because she doesn't do that much damage. She doesn't get a huge impact from the Visor. And also the Visor. Just from her primary abilities, her Flail. But she can also be kited very easily. So it's a pretty bad nano target. However, in this case, Aim God has used it purely defensively. Fixer has rallied. Who Are You tries to kill Brigitte with the Nano Blade. Aim God nanos Fixer, so Fixer's now taking reduced damage and is healing herself as well. And Who Are You just can't kill them. So they use 2 ultimates and trade into 2 ultimates in the Fusion. But the Fusion ultimates persist after the fight. So Fixer's rally is still going to be on Aim God at the end of the fight. So this is actually a really good trade for the Fusion at the moment. So Who Are You sees this and goes on to Fury instead, decides that's the target. Dragons also invest Beat, so this is 5 ultimates now. Lippers is ulted as well. And they push. Basically through the fact they use every single ult. But it's kind of interesting that they nano break here. I'd say most of the time this is bad. But if, you have to live, and that was the target that they were going to Nano Blade, I think this was a pretty good nano. But Shanghai Dragons do complete the map with 48 seconds left. Very, very, very nice. Right, let's move on to the attack for Fusion. So, looking at the defense, Dragons, they are what they say on the tin. They're going to run the exact same thing again. Lip is on the Soldier. Who Are You will basically only play the Genji. Void is going to play the Zarya, Lee Jae-gon on the Lucio, and Izayaki on the Ana. I'm kind of surprised here that Shanghai were very hesitant to go into Brick. Because Brick defensive isn't that bad. They seem really set on using this Lucio to speed people around the map. The Fusion again have gone for this Echo look with the Zarya. They're going to play Brig again on the attack. So Shanghai Dragons again can pick when they engage or when they don't. And differently from the Fusion, let me just get my pen out. If you remember for the Fusion, they were holding with the Zarya at the point here. Zest was over here somewhere. I think the Brig was back here somewhere. And then Ashe was all the way over here. They were basically all on their own. And I don't remember exactly where the Ana was, but I think the Ana was also up here with the Brig for some survivability. For the Shanghai Dragons, Void is actually on this high ground. They're protecting, the wraparound with Void, who has a lot more sustainability. He can jump this gap with a right-click jump, but also with speed boost from Lee Jae Gon, you can just innately jump over that gap. But it's much harder to get into Void this scenario. MN3 has also pulled out the Hanzo, which is kind of an interesting pick, honestly. Very, very few teams have picked Hanzo. You do have kind of like the noob combo of Overwatch, I suppose, but it's pretty usable. A lot of people would run Hanzo with Zarya for the combo of Dragon Graviton Surge because it was almost a guaranteed fight win, but only if you didn't have very certain ultimates. So Zarya grabs, the entire team. You fire off your Happy Little Dragon. Yeah, this is a Happy Little Dragon. And he just goes through the Graviton Surge and everyone takes all the damage. I don't know how much Dragon is, but it's just a lot. And they all die. And, you get play of the game and you do the Hanzo thing where you're doing like the fist pumps in the front of you. And, it all looks very good. There are counters to this. One of them is beat. The burst damage from the Grav Dragon will not go over the beat. You can survive through beat. Another answer is Transcendence. However, the weakness of Transcendence and why it's not all encompassing is if you get antied in Transcendence, the only person that will live then is the Zen because they're immortal. Everyone else will just die. The Trank will do nothing. And the final one is like Lamp. And no one's running the Baptiste, so you don't have to worry about the Lamp. But you can kill the Lamp. The best counter though is probably the Beat. I think Rally you will not live through. You might live a bit longer, but you'll still die eventually. Maybe Nano Rally you live. That's a possibility. The problem, as I said, with this, though, is another potential answer, and this isn't a single target answer. If you bubble and nano someone, they will probably live through Grav Dragon. So there is a bit of an answer from the Shanghai Dragons. Also, you have to get the value out of the Hanzo, which is very hard. It's a projectile hero. Very fast projectile, admittedly, but it's kind of awkward. It's not as easy to put out consistent damage as Soldier is. So it's just going to rely on like really good headshots, frankly. Void has now seen this. They've dropped back again. And they're playing through the other side of Hotel at the moment. Void gets completely mullered, honestly. I don't know by what. I think he gets headshot by MN3 and drops very low. Izzyaki has to nade him and then keep him up. So nice play from Shanghai. Baits fusion in a little bit, but not too much. The other nice thing about playing Hanzo at this point is, firstly, this Storm Arrow bounces, so if you're inside a corridor, it's pretty brutal, because even if you miss, it might deflect off a wall and hit someone else. So it's a lot of spam damage. Hanzo are very good at breaking shields, strangely, for a sniper. But also, you can Sonic this hotel and just check if someone's flanking around. It's very useful for scouting. So they saw that he was scouting, he breaks out his Storm Arrow, he just shoots it into the corridor, and Shanghai have to respect it and disengage. But yeah, it's again a little bit of posturing at the moment. Another nice headshot from MN3. Breaks out the Storm Arrow, murders Void. Wonderful play from MN3 there. Also a big anti onto Izzyaki, who kills Fixer somehow. And then Who Are You deflects a sticky bomb and kills two. Kind of insane. Fury kills Who Are You for the trouble, and they'll clean up. But pretty expensive for Shanghai here. They lost 2 players. They're going to have to taxi them back. Void has his energy reset as well, so they're going to be in the same situation with Fury. Also, Fury's way close to the Grav. But very nice play from Who Are You to deflect the stickies from Zest into the closed room of the hotel and get a few kills. But as good as like this closed room is for, a lot of the Fusion team, honestly, Brig's pretty good in there. Zarya's fine. The Hanzo doesn't dislike it with the Storm Arrow. Echo doesn't love going into this room. She can throw some stickies into it, but she doesn't want to be in there. Genji, on the other hand, content to be in there. Deflects some of the damage and then just dashes through backwards, Just keep dash resetting through the corridor, get all the kills. Very nice. And again, this is a bit of a slow posturing poke approach. The Nano, Who Are You? And just chase up, follow up very nicely. Don't just leave him to do it on his own. And that's a nice cleanup. Only with Nano. And things are looking fantastic for Shanghai at the moment. They're really struggling with this, Hanzo approach. it just doesn't have the consistent damage that like a soldier offers you. Also, just Bear Dragon is probably worse than Visor in terms of threats. The only advantage really they've had at the moment, the Fusion, is that they're close to this like new combo, the Grav Dragon. And because they've not done that much damage to Shanghai, it's really just been like, we've either killed you or not killed you. Lee Jae-gon's only 67 to beat. So they look like they're not going to have the beat survivability for this Grav Dragon. But again, the counter as well to Grav Dragon is you're investing 2 ultimates. By the way, they're just going to, you know, Visor Blade. Very nice headshot again from M3, but he gets cleaned up. And Genji comes back fast. But another counter to Grav Dragon is, if you play Split, and one person dies to Grav Dragon, that's 2 ultimates invested for 1 kill. That's not great economy. Now, it can be good if, you know, it is the must-kill target. Like, if you kill Void with it, you could probably live with that, especially if you use all the ults on top of that. But it's not great. Like, they won't win the match doing this. But they're at the point now where they have to win the point. There's a minute left. If they don't win this fight, they're in trouble. They probably think Lee Jae-gon at this point as well had beat. So they know they're going to have to invest fairly heavily into this. Void has also come back around and got another Graviton Surge again. Here's a new combo. They just do it on Void. And make sure he dies. Who Are You trades back into Zest, and this again is scary territory. Zest had one of their ultimates. He now cannot use it. They've used 2 and got 1 kill. Fixer rallies, Lee Jae-gon beats. So they were very close to keeping Void alive here. If they got the beat very slightly sooner, they'd be good. MN3 gets another nice headshot kill, and this is the first point for them. But kind of rough. They had to invest 3 ultimates and relied on some nice headshots from M3. And now they're going to chase split spawns. But, unfortunately, they get out. They split spawn the Genji, and Genji's pretty good at getting away from things. Deflect, dash, Void with a nice bubble as well. And they persist on the Hanzo for now. Hanzo at this point isn't the absolute worst pick again. You did see him playing over here before. Like, this is on the high ground from the first point. You can shoot all the way down here as a sniper, so this is probably one of the prime spots for a sniper. The problem is, as soon as the team gets around, the defending team gets to this corner, you're not going to see them unless your 4 push them back out again, which is unlikely to happen at this level. They're probably going to push into you, realizing there's only 5. So MN3 is backed off to this window over here, where you have sightline to this point as well. But you can play around the sightline a little bit easier here. And MN3 has decided, I'm not even going to do it. He locks the Cassidy, which is a very interesting change. Does he stick on this? I don't even remember. Where are my notes? I have notes of this game. Does he stay on Cassidy? He does stay on Cassidy. Okay, we'll talk about it then. So, Cassidy has been changed dramatically from Overwatch 1. And I say dramatically, he's had one ability changed. His flashbang is gone. He no longer has his stun. Instead, he has a magnetic grenade, which does a huge chunk of damage. But this still means he's pretty good into flankers, like Genji. If you throw the magnetic grenade at Genji and he doesn't have the deflect or he doesn't have the bubble, it's going to do 130 damage to him. So one body shot will kill him. So this is nice protection for your supports. If your Cassidy just sticks with your supports, Who Are You is going to get so little value. It's like it's going to struggle to just do anything. At which point you might say, like, you know, he's just going to try and farm a Dragon Blade off the Zarya instead of just going on the backline. But, you know, it forces them to think about it differently. It's kind of an interesting swap, though. I don't really know how to feel about this yet, and he immediately gets, I think, the benefit of the Nano as well. Just to try and get this High Noon, which isn't a very impactful ult, honestly. It's pretty good, but I'd say Vice is probably better than the High Noon in a lot of situations. Especially without a shield tank just protecting it. Like, you're very susceptible to being slept or just headshot in High Noon. Whereas Visor, you can run around, you can run back around corners again, and so on and so forth. Anyway, Who Are You gets nanoed as well, and gets a nice little bit of cleanup as well. Because as I said, very nice for Cassidy if he can, you know, hit the magnetic grenade on the Genji, but you're relying on him not having deflect, you're relying on him not having a bubble in this comp, and then hitting him because he's going to be dashing around like, you know, a fly in a picnic. It's going to be really hard to get the kills still. So he's definitely nerfed into flankers. He's not as good. He's still okay, but... I'm surprised they've gone for the Cassidy and not the Soldier. I'm really intrigued by what their thought process was behind this. It might just be a preference for M3, I don't know. Maybe he's more of a like flick style rather than a tracking gamer. I'm not 100% certain. I didn't follow that much Korean contenders. So again, M3's on the flank. Still very good into 1v1s. You've seen me rage about this. Who Are You has deflect, doesn't die to the magnetic grenades, kills Fury on the way back as well, which is pretty rough. Zest copies a Lucio, which I can only assume is an accident because that's a pretty bad copy for you. And again, Shanghai clean up and things are looking wonderful at this point. Fusion invest a pretty major ultimate. Shanghai invests one ultimate. And they get split spawns. Split kills. Aim God is killed late. And yeah, Fusion have no ults at the moment. Shanghai have two big ones, plus the Nano is coming up, plus the Beat is coming up. The thing you say Fusion have, at least, is they're about to get their Graviton Surge, and Shanghai don't have an answer for it right now. Again, Who Are You goes very aggressive. I love this aggression. This is proactive play. Brilliant headshot from M3 here. Kills Who Are You during the end of the blade. But really the damage is done. You've lost both your supports. And they don't do anything else. Zest goes off the Echo onto his own Genji. I didn't even notice that. But Shanghai Dragons, things look good. 50 seconds left. Fusion, you know, they've been held here. Even though the Fusion are now starting to get an ult advantage, you've made the clock go pretty low. You'd be fairly content. Even if Fusion use all their ultimates now to make sure to keep pushing, you'll eventually get an ult advantage at some point and win before the end of the map. Unfortunately, Shanghai do a little bit of trolling right now. So, they've already once, you know, staggered, I guess, not split spawn, but stagger killed Aim God in the previous fight late. They tried to stagger kill M3 here. Lee Jae-gon goes insane. Now, he's renowned for being a very aggressive Lucio, and he's the furthest person forward in their team at the moment, trying to kill M3. And unfortunately gets headshots, magnetic grenade, headshot, he dies. And he has the beat, the answer to the Graviton Surge, which is coming up. So this is uh-oh time. Still not, you know, a terrible situation, but a little bit of trolling has occurred on here. Then Izayaki can't get out again because they don't have the speed. So M3 kills another. And then kills Void as well, as they're all backing up. This is all because they don't have the speed disengage anymore. And Fusion win a fight. Sorry, it wasn't in 48 seconds. I'm chatting nonsense. It was in overtime. In fact, let me just go back. It was like 10 seconds left of the game. He kills both supports as they're backing out of this, like, you know, spawn camp. And it goes into overtime. And the Fusion have invested 0 ultimates and won a fight. Admittedly, Shanghai also invested 0 ultimates, but it's not great to lose a neutral fight here. But hey-ho, you know, at some point Shanghai are going to get an ult advantage again. And they're going to win the map, right? Right? Like, Fusion have to stay on the car. It's overtime. If they leave, they're going to lose. Lip has gone into the subway, the spawn point of the defenders at the start. And he's like, I'm going to peek up behind and just murder Ana. Probably. Izayaki is going to be aware of this. They're going to nano me and we're just going to blow Ana up. Job's done. Go to the 4th map. Unfortunately. He's like, oh, there's a ping here. Zest is wise to this. Zest has clearly had this happen to him before, that someone has, you know, stayed back in the subway. And he gets scouted out. And now Lip is 5 enemy players between him and his team. And Lip gets murdered. Shanghai do a bit more trolling. So now their ult advantage is somewhat diminished because Lip had the visor. So Izayaki nanos Who Are You to try and win this fight back because they, they're in overtime. They want to win the fight. But it's not a nano blade, it's just a bare nano into Who Are You. Into 5 people, he gets murdered. So now Shanghai have lost 2 ultimates. I mean, they haven't used one, but they've used one and they've lost one to death. Fusion haven't invested in an ult yet, still. MN3 kills Void as well because he runs out of bubbles after bubbling Who Are You. And probably himself. And the Fusion push to the second point. For no ultimate, they push the second point. Shanghai just cannot allow this to happen. This was such awful play from them. And even the nano to Who Are You got him like, what, 12% to the blade? It really wasn't worth it. Now they're at an ult disadvantage because Fusion are about to get 4 of their ultimates up. And they died fairly late. Plus, some of the players probably had the overtime spawn at first, so they... Actually, no, the overtime spawn wouldn't have mattered here, because they won't have it anymore. But yeah, they're not going to be able to hold at this first corner, so they're going to be in 1 fight lost territory, lose the map. So this is pretty scary. They need a huge beat from Lee Jae-gon here, and a bit of a misplay from Fusion. No sleep there. Unlucky. Fury somehow kills Lip. How does Fury kill Lip here? So Lip visors. Fury grabs. Maybe he grabs to the visor. I'm not sure because the camera is looking at Aengod at the moment. For some reason. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume Fury solo grabs Lip. Knowing that Lip is probably the win condition for the Shanghai Dragons at the moment. Void is also in the grab. And he has a bad time. That stick, by the way, was the magnetic grenade from Cassidy. So Fusion at the moment have used 1 ultimate. And they're about to win a fight on 3rd. Void doesn't get to use his grab. Lee Jae-gon doesn't beat it. Lip has now come back on the Widowmaker, as I said. Widow is unlikely to build an ultimate, nor is, Soldier. But a Widow headshot would be huge here. And they must now be fully brown in their pants because they should have held them on 2nd. Like, they shouldn't have got out their spawn, basically. Like, they should have been held at Archway. Fusion, for 1 ultimate, are pushed to the final fight in 3rd. They use a Graviton Surge. That's been it. Fusion are aware of what's going on now, so Lip is like, I have to maneuver. They know I'm here. They're protecting themselves on the other side of the cart. Early rally. And this is now hard for Void to, get any value off the Graviton Surge. If he grabs into rally, they're getting all this overhealth. And he has a little wet noodle of a beam right now. No energy. Like, he can't kill this on his own. To counter this Graviton Surge, the Fusion have also got High Noon. So I've mentioned before that High Noon is a little bit of a disadvantage. You stand there and go, it's High Noon. You glow so the enemy team can see you, and you get headshots because you move very slowly in High Noon. But if you're Graviton Surge, like, who cares about you moving? So it's not the end of the world to just pop a High Noon in a grav. Fury saves a bubble for him so he can't just be headshot or slept. And this is like the big fuck off button for Shanghai. The beat won't save you from a High Noon, potentially. Unless you time it unbelievably well. So they're shitting themselves for the High Noon. Like, they have to hide. Lip dies to High Noon. I presume Lip is trying to headshot MN3 as the bubble ends. But he makes a misplay here. So again, Shanghai are down a player. Lee Jae-gon beats immediately after this. And as Zest pulls his blade. But Fury got nanoed. It wasn't a nano blade. They've split their resources. So Fury gets the nano. Zest gets the blade. And they solo focus Void so heavily. I think Void gets the beat here as well. Does he get the beat? Oh, maybe he doesn't. No, he does get the beat. I'm talking nonsense. They just kill him so quickly because Fury is 100 energy at the moment and nanoed. The Angry Hornet Gun is going to, brutally murder Void now. Zest, again, turns, I think, his blade Okay, he's just pressurizing the supports. So they're fighting him. He comes back and swings once at Void, and that's enough. Void dies. And now it's stagger time for Shanghai. They went from overtime, the second point, with an ult advantage, and Fusion are going to push with time left. Now, it didn't matter because they didn't have more than a minute, but this is kind of, you know, everyone in Shanghai took the trolling stick and grasped a hold of it. What the hell was this defense? They should have held them, and honestly, this has to be the most mentally booming thing for you. To know that you should have won this map already, you should be preparing to load into the fourth map, and you threw it away. Not the enemy team making a great outplay, you threw it. And this must be like mental galvanization for the Fusion. Like, they knew they should have lost this. They were probably preparing for the next map, like, you know, in comms and stuff. And they're just gifted an opportunity to come back. By the way, MN3 does make some big plays here on Cassidy. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ads? Nope, I'm going to pause it. One moment. Okay, we're back again after that rude advert for some furniture. Either way, Shanghai assuming again, and you know, this should be the mark of the champions. We've made a mistake, we can fix it. The advantage is still in their court. Fusion only have a minute to take first. That's pretty rough on King's Row. We have a minute 41. We can build an ult bank and just 5 ult and win the first point. So all we need is a good defense here. Again, Shanghai are kind of restricted. They're locked into this comp with Who Are You. He basically has to be on the Genji. Like, he's almost a one-trick Genji. I know it's not true, he can play other projectile heroes, but he's renowned for his Genji at, like, the highest level. So I feel like they're locked onto it. They're locked onto Void on the Zarya as well. Almost, because of the off-tank roles, and really Zarya is the only hero that's being used, other than Sigma into sniper comps. And then they have a bit of flexibility in Lip, Lee Jae-gon, and Izayaki. But obviously the Fusion can, like, somewhat prepare for this. They know what they're going to say. Zest this time decides the Echo isn't for him. I think he rolls out on this Genji instead. Does he roll out on the Genji? Am I, again, chatting shit? I don't remember. Yeah, he rolls out on the Genji. MN3 takes a little pot shot and goes out into the Cassidy again. So this is going to put some pressure on Who Are You. And again, Shanghai must be having nightmares of this Cassidy at the moment. Shanghai again give them this flank, really. I don't even think Void positioned up here. He just immediately was at the point. So they changed their defense very slightly from last time. Nice from Zest, gets, you know, the bubble. And they're just pushing Shanghai back. I guess one of the nice things about Cassidy on this point, rather than Hanzo again, is in hotel. If an enemy tries to, like, flank around the hotel, you've seen, like, people in deathmatch before probably raging at the Cassidy, just throwing a magnetic grenade around the corner and just body shotting you once and killing you. He's so scary into that 1v1, like, Who Are You can't really come around that flank, nor can Lee Jae-gon or Izayaki. They can't peek it, because Cassidy will just have their ass. So Zest is pushing, you know, people all the way back around this high ground. They're playing so passive at the moment, Shanghai. They've given all this space for nothing. Like, what's happened at the moment for Shanghai? Like, they're holding in the archway already. I mean, Who Are You has dropped a bit low, I suppose. Lip has had to back all the way off here. The supports, I think, are down here as well. And I presume Void is over here on the low ground as well. And this is practically just being drawn about by MN3 peeking the hotel and Zest dashing with a bubble up here. They give them so much space. Like, it's insane. Lip is away from his heals. He can't get healed at the moment. He has to jog champ down. So now they've given Fusion the entire high ground. It's theirs. They can have it. Void is trying to desperately hold the point on his own. He drops to half before using a bubble, and Fury is just going to blow this bubble up. I know a lot of people say don't shoot the Zarya bubble. This is a situation where you shoot the Zarya bubble. Just break the bubble, kill Void. It doesn't matter if he has full energy, if he's dead. He forces another bubble into himself, so now he has no bubbles for Who Are You? Who might touch the point? Or Lee Jae-gon, who may want to try and touch the point. And that's a tick gone, and they're playing inside the hotel now. And they have to push out into this team. Again, they've got split up. Izayaki's on his own. Lee Jae-gon was with Void in hotel. So Zest goes like, okay, I'll try and 1v1 your support. The entire Shanghai peel for him, but again, they're not touching the point. Fusion are just capping. And this is just because Zest is pestering them. And finally, after giving up all this space, MN3 gets the kill, and who are you? Izayaki like, I have to touch, otherwise we lose the point. Sorry, Lee Jae-gon has to touch the point, otherwise they'll lose. He dies. Void again realizes like, this is over. We have to die on point. We don't want to get split spawned. And Izayaki's about to get split spawned. In overtime as well. This is brutal. This is going to enable the Philadelphia Fusion to push all the way, basically to this corner where we're at now, for free. Like, Izayaki's just respawned now. That's unbelievable. And who are you? Honestly, plays a bit with fire here. Fusion don't have the Lucio, so they can't really go fully aggressive to try and chase him. But if he got picked here, like, you would not be holding until, like, the second point. Sorry, the end of the second point. And Fusion are just going to keep 3 on cart, push this as far as possible, because honestly, this is bank already for them. With 1 minute, if you cap the first point, you'll take it. If you can push, like, towards the end of the second point, you'll be thrilled. That's tough to get with 140 something left. 141. Alright, Lip goes on a little flank again. I don't dislike this. Set up a little crossfire. And then comes back. Shanghai is so narrow here. There's just no worry at the moment for AimGod. Like, he can just stand around this corner. Like you saw before, Zest, he was flanking all the way around the team to get onto Izayaki. To counter this, we have all the players basically in this area. They're only looking at this. They can only see, at the moment, Fury. MN3 is fine. He can, peek around the corner, shoot someone, and just peek back again. He's safe. AimGod can just play all the way over here. Like, you don't have to put any resources here. Fixer is close to the Zarya as well, just giving, an additional bit of safety for Fury. Like, it's too passive. They need someone to be doing something. Who are you has received the nano, so I guess he's going to now go through. I didn't even see him. He was also in this picture. Does Lee Jae-gon steal a bubble here? Let me try and see with my eagle eyes. I think he doesn't get the bubble here. No, he does get the bubble. I'm chatting shit. So he's bubbled a nano. So they're expecting him to go aggressive. You go now. And he doesn't. They nano Cassidy. They grab because they have ult advantage. And now alarm bells should be ringing. Who are you does get a pick. But how does MN3 live? The problem again, Brig. Not the quickest character back, but she can get back a little bit faster than the other team. It's going to take a while for Void to get back. It's an overtime spawn still. And Fusion have 4 on cart. And they have 2 DPS ults. This is scary. You would fancy Shanghai to win this fight, though. I think this is Zest up here, just trying to, get a sneaky kill. They're aware that they're about to come into 4 ults with the Shanghai Dragons, and they're going to have a rough time. Visor plus Grav plus Blades will probably be a fight win. Zest gets out. There's the shield helping Brig. Brig 1% off rally, gets rally, immediately rallies. So rally's up for the Visor already, before Lip Visors, which is a bit rough. Zest knows that Lip is the scary person here. Blades him, MN3 creates space with a high noon as well. So Shanghai can't push out to help them. Lee Jae-gon beats, but only beats 3. Doesn't hit Lip, doesn't hit Izayaki either. And High Noon kills 2 supports. How does he kill 2 off a High Noon? It's crazy. Like, can I even see where they are in this? So Lee Jae-gon gets caught out. Like, the High Noon... I think I know what happens here. So, Lip is in this corner here. He's visoring. Lee Jae-gon hears the blade come out. Is aware that, this big metal thing is in the way. So he beats and runs out the corner to try and pass the beat this way. Because beat, how do I want to explain this? It's not immediately upon hitting the floor that the beat happens. It comes out as you go away for I don't know, a second or something. I don't know exactly the timing on it. But if you hit the ground here and you move to here, people would still get the beat over here. So I think he tries to beat round the corner to try and make sure that Lip lives. But Lip dies anyway. Lee Jae-gon is then out of position, and he's stood inside the High Noon, which is here. And there's probably been in the High Noon for a decent amount of time that he's going to get chunked down through beat. Izayaki, I don't even know where he is, but I presume he's in this corner here. I don't know how Izayaki dies to this High Noon. So he also gets hit by the blade as well. Lip dies just during this. I don't think Zest is swinging at him. He's trying to get Lee Jae-gon. Oh, there's Izayaki. He's right at the very back. And just dies. And this is now very brutal territory. Admittedly, you're going to say Shanghai will win next fight with Grav Blade. But 1 minute 41 to push 2 points of King's Row is giga rough. The Fusion can wait till they get 5 ults. Another great swap here. MN3 goes off the Cassidy. He's used High Noon. He's not going to get another ultimate. If he can headshot someone with Widowmaker, that's potentially more distance. So he swaps to Widow. He goes into a little cheeky nerd spot up here. He body shots Who Are You there. Zest dies to Who Are You, and this will unravel now. The Shanghai Dragons will hold them here. They grab Widow. Widow dies. Pulls out the blades. Cleans up. But this is already, you know, damage done. Just a reminder, the Shanghai Dragons put Fusion into overtime on their first attack under the archway after the first point. Had an ult advantage and lost all the way to the last corner of the third point for 1 Graviton Surge. They should have been out this map. And now they're going to have to do something special. Because they know they're going to be into overtime during this push. And they know Fusion, and Fusion know this themselves. They know what they have to do now. They can bank 5 ultimates and wait for the fight they have to win. Shanghai have to keep using ultimates to keep winning fights. They have to be proactive. So, but for a Fusion fuck-up here, the Shanghai Dragon's going to win this. The Fusion are going to win this. Sorry. And again, the Shanghai Dragons, they can't really do anything about this. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, just turning my light on again for my notes. Yeah, there's not what they can do about this. They're kind of locked into this comp again. The Fusion bring out the Ashe again on defense. Again, I think Avril is moulding at this. He's not thrilled by the Ashe pick. To be fair, the Ashe pick into the Zarya comp I think is pretty weak. The Winston comp I think is much better. Also, I think into the Ghost Bubble, Ashe then has another advantage of, you know, coach running a Reaper away. But he doesn't get that much value into this. I would have liked to see him just start on the Cassidy or something, if that's what he's been feeling. Anyway, Shanghai roll out what they've always been rolling out onto. There is a nice Dynamite. Look at the ult charge going up. Very quick ult to build up as well. This is the other nice thing for the Ashe when there's very little time left. It's one of the faster building ultimates. If you can get a Bob in like a minute, fairly easily at this level, Bob can contest the cart, can win you a fight early. Unfortunately, Lip just mows him down because Soldier does insane damage. And now they're just going to run over the team. Zest is killed by Lee Jae-gon. And this is probably the perfect scenario for Shanghai. They win the first point investing no ultimates. They're going to have an ult advantage. This is the minimum that they need to do to get this 5 points. And immediately MN3 is like, okay, I'm going to the Soldier now. Ashe, not as good on the second point. Which, I kind of wish they didn't pick it then. If you weren't going to keep on to it on the second point, you might as well just stay on Soldier and try to build up a visor, but whatever. This did give Shanghai a bit of a window. Zest somehow kills 2 on the flank. I say somehow. Lee Jae-gon and Lip are on the flank as this little 2 squad. You know, speeding him around. Probably trying to get him on the flank just to murder AimGod, which I do respect. Unfortunately, he runs into a Brigitte and a Genji on the other side of things. And things don't go well for them. They just get completely murdered in a corner. And this causes the team just to fold. Izayaki then gets killed by the Soldier because, you know, there's no more healing for your Ana. And Zest kills Who Are You. So as much as the opportunity of the window opened, the window slams shut because Shanghai didn't even push this at all. The cart is still where it was. There's 24 seconds left. The ult advantage is gone. Like, they've got Nano coming up very soon. But they're going to have to use lots of ultimates to get out their spawn door. Which means Fusion will definitely get 2 fights on the second point, at the very least. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you before. It's so brutal to push out of the King Row spawn doors when the team sets up. Because you're going to have people on top of you, like, you know, Zest is now, he's literally above the spawn. If you come out of here, like, you get shot at from all angles. It's so brutal. Like, Voids is just not aware. Zest is just playing, you know, hide and seek at the moment. They spot the Ana solo. Why Izyaki's on the high ground on their own, I don't have a clue. Great bubble. They were very lucky that Izyaki lives. He should have died there. And now we're in overtime. Izzyaki still can't get back to their team. And he's murdered by this duo of Brig and Genji just wandering around. AimGod gets the Nano first, and that's all she wrote for this map. Shanghai should have won it. They got the trolling stick out, they trolled, and they got punished for it. Didn't get any of their ultimates online to, you know, fight with. And the upstart, up-and-coming team, the Fusion, I mean, admittedly, Fury, you know, pretty experienced, AimGod fairly experienced, and Carpi, when he was in at the start, very experienced. But this rookie DPS duo of MN3 and Zest overwhelmed the Shanghai Dragons. This was a crazy display. What a huge shock as well. Like, my predictions, I had Shanghai 3-0ing the Fusion. I thought Fusion were going to struggle. I was so impressed with Zest. He was insane. Truly, truly insane. So again, I thought I'd go through some of the other games of last weekend. Unfortunately, I can't separate the OWL website by APAC to the Atlantic Division, so spoilers for some of the other games as well, but I'm going to discuss them. I'm going to try and put out another video this week for one of the Atlantic games as well, assuming I get time. May come out of the weekend, but we'll see. Anyway, obviously, the game we just watched, Fusion 3-0'd the Shanghai Dragons, which was a huge shock. The Valiant, who I don't think they won a game last season in APAC, started off losing again to the Guangzhou Charge, who's realistically their best, you know, challenge for this season. But they looked decent, to be fair. Hangzhou Spark looked very impressive in their win of the Seoul Dynasty. I thought Seoul would be a fairly decent team again. They have a very experienced squad at the moment of some players, especially at the very highest of high levels. Then the Chengdu Hunters on the next day came out and 3-0'd the Guangzhou Charge. Chengdu, again, probably seen as the second best, if not like the third best, 2 or 3 in the APAC division. There was the second best last season, started off with a 3-0. Shanghai just overcame the Hangzhou Spark, 3-2. This Spark team looks very interesting. I would like to look at one of their games next week if I can. Seoul through to the LA Valiant. Again, very good for the Valiant. They've won as many maps, I think, this year as they did last season in 2 games, but still came up, you know, the bridesmaid, never the bride. And then finally, Fusion 3-0 the Guangzhou Charge as potentially expected based on the Shanghai Dragons game and looked utterly dominant. Seoul 3-0 the Chengdu Hunters, who looked completely out of sorts in this meta at the moment. Which is surprising. I thought Chengdu would look really good in the 5v5 meta. They seem to thrive around like ordered chaos, and I thought that's what 5v5 would bring for them, but they struggled quite a lot in that game. And then Spark just again overcame the Valiant one more time, 3-2. So very unlucky for the Valiant. This leaves the standings looking like this. Fusion, they're top of the standings after 2 games, 2-0. The only team not to lose a game. Then we have the blur, like just the craziness of the APAC from this weekend. Spark have looked good on occasions, but then equally looked bad. They're currently sitting second because they've won more maps. Seoul similarly have looked really good on some maps, but then like kind of a bit iffy on other ones. There have been some real bright spots for Seoul though. Fitz has looked insane. Similar for Spark, Alpha Yi looks like a really fun player to watch. Chengdu looked a bit outsourced in one of their games. Shanghai just don't look like their imperial self, but the team is too good to, you know, be bad this long. I think as soon as they get the finger on the pulse of the meta a bit more, they will rise back up this table. And then I think Charge and Valiant are going to be fighting over the 6th and 7th spot. I don't think there's a huge amount between these two teams. and I think they'll run each other very close. This leads me to my team of the week, and I've done a team of the week for the APAC region, and hopefully in my next video I'll do one for the Atlantic region. And unsurprisingly, it's dominated by Fusion players. Fury has looked very accomplished on the Zarya, and they've ran a few different Zarya comps, and he looks fantastic on all of them. Also, there was a little bit of a shout for Belarus, Belarusria. I can't get my head around his name. Who I think has looked fantastic on the Winston, but they've rarely really used this Winston comp. Zest, I think, has looked like the best DPS player from the APAC region during this weekend. He just looked phenomenal. Apologies for slightly having your name offset to the DPS icon. I've just noticed that right now. Then I've also got in Fitz for DPS from the Soul Dynasty. He's looked incredible on hit scan DPS. Possibly the best on the Soldier 76. And then finally in the support line, I have Aim God, who I think a lot of people were interested to see how he would do. He obviously had like huge shoes to fill after the tragic passing of Alarm. And I was really worried that he might like flop under the pressure, but he's looked phenomenal. Like truly, truly incredible talent, up to the heights of where people expected him to be. So I was really, really thrilled with the way that he and the Fusion played this week. And then finally, I have Vindime, again of the Soul Dynasty. So only 2 teams representing my APAC team of the week, who I think looked very accomplished on the Lucio for a new rookie player. There were a couple of other people, I'm sorry to the Spark fans. Alfie I did enjoy. I think he had a bit of, a bit off moments, but looked like a really fun player to follow. And I nearly put Shy in here, but he just missed out. And this leads me to the final segment, the play of the week. And this was from the APAC region. And I've chosen a little bit of a funny clip. There were a couple of like great pop-off moments by MN3, but I thought, you know what, let's not re-show that again, since we've just gone over it anyway. Equally, Zest had a few pop-off moments. Again, we watched that before. This tickled my fancy, though. This was Hangzhou Spark, who, again, they looked all over the place. So sometimes they looked really, really, really talented, and at other times they looked a little bit... And they went up against the LA Valiant. He went to a map 5, as I discussed, and this was the start of the 5th map, the control map. Becky... Oh, sorry. The audio incredibly loud. So let me lower that for a moment for you, so I don't get copyright stricken, hopefully. Becky is chasing the backline at the moment. They're running a Zarya Tracer comp. Ooh. Try and bubble the Tracer, get onto Irony. Murder Irony. But Super Rich has their back. Boots Becky, and Becky lands into traffic. And this leads to Spark winning the fight and eventually winning the map. So that is my play of the week. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching this video. As I mentioned, I'll try and put out an Atlantic one tomorrow or the day afterwards. It'll really depend like how quickly I can edit it together. And boy, do we have another fantastic game to watch. Anyway, thanks for watching and goodbye.